to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on today's headlines. As the global economy is suffering turbulent times, the IMF has warned governments that they must reduce budget deficits incurred during the pandemic. Thailand will toughen its gun possession and drug laws following the nursery massacre of 36 people, including 24 children, in the kingdom's worst mass killing. The death 3 months ago of a local Muay Thai boxing star after a fight has reignited debates about the safety of the sport, even as it tries to modernize and has dreams of appearing on the Olympic stage. And the resort island in the southern Philippines is bouncing back nearly a year after a super typhoon flattened the island and devastated its tourism industry. Tourists are returning to Siargao, a popular destination for surfers and holidaymakers. First in our news, as the global economy is suffering turbulent times, the IMF has warned governments that they must reduce budget deficits incurred during the pandemic. Now, this warning comes as energy and food prices soar, causing extreme poverty worldwide. After the unprecedented expansion in 2020, monetary and fiscal policies continue to move together, pivoting towards simultaneous tightening in 2022. Now, Mr. Victor Gaspar, the IMF Fiscal Affairs Department Director, highlighted this need for consistency between monetary and fiscal policy. Let's listen in.
With deficits falling from 9.7% of GDP in 2020 to 4.7% of GDP in 2022, inflation surprises help initially, but this effect cannot endure. Once inflation becomes broad-based and persistent, inflation expectations catch up. High and volatile inflation makes credit more expensive and its costs less predictable. In the context of high inflation, high debt, rising interest rates, and elevated uncertainty, consistency between monetary and fiscal policy is paramount for economic and financial stability. In most countries, this means staying the budget on its tightening course. Prioritizing macroeconomic and financial stability after decades of reduction in extreme poverty. Extreme poverty has increased in the world, and it is projected to stay well above the pre-pandemic expected path going forward. That is a very concerning development. Together with that, we have that food insecurity has increased significantly, as has the number of people that suffer from undernourishment. So the issue of nutrition and food security are crucial and priority goals. As you rightly emphasized, in this group of countries, budget resources, financing resources are scarce. But it's in the nature of the political and policy trade-offs that policymakers face that food security and nutrition have to be given priority. The fiscal monitor emphasizes the need to be prepared, including by having a broad-based and fair tax system that, in our view, could well include taxation of rents, taxation of excess profits, but also a flexible, comprehensive, and scalable social security system that could be adapted to circumstances like those that countries are facing right now with the energy and food crisis. So I do think that fiscal policy has a central role to play in politics and social cohesion, and has also a central role to play in terms of the social contract.
Meanwhile, the IMF is also warning of a period of extreme volatility in financial markets in the latest global financial stability report. Let's listen in.
Markets have been extremely volatile. Risk assets such as equities and corporate bonds have declined sharply. A deterioration in market liquidity has amplified price moves, and financial conditions have tightened globally. In many advanced economies, financial conditions are now tight by historical standards. In some emerging markets, they have reached levels last seen during the height of the COVID-19 crisis. And with the expansionary fiscal policy, the Bank of England would have to raise interest rates that much more in order to contain inflation and to get inflation back to the mandated objective. One part of the answer to the question is yes, the shift in fiscal policy would certainly change the trajectory. Now, you were asking, is that the only way to change the trajectory in yields? And as you saw in the recent past 2 weeks, asset purchases can also change yields in the marketplace. But of course, the Bank of England has the inflation price stability objective, and that is going to stand in the way of permanently having lower interest. So we have seen stress in the Chinese property market. Of course, compared to recent years, the growth rate in China has been declining to some degree, and that is one contributing factor to the slowing of the property market. But also, of course, there has been a lot of investment in properties over many years, and so that has also led to a demand and supply imbalance in some regions, in some cities. So when we look at property developing companies in particular, their stock and bond prices have been declining as the prospects for sales going forward, for example, have been readjusted. So sales have been declining steadily. So we are in the worst quintile here. So the only times where things were worse was in times of acute crisis, such as the euro crisis, the global financial crisis, or the 2020 COVID crisis. So in that sense, we are certainly at a stressed moment. But again, the baseline is one where things continue to be orderly. Now, in terms of spillovers from the UK to other countries, so we have, of course, seen that there are yield movements that are correlated to some degree, but we haven't seen the kind of dysfunction spill over into other markets to date.
Also, in a wide-ranging interview with the president with IMF and the president of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, highlighted the tackling of inflation as the key challenge over the coming months. Ms. Lagarde highlighted Ukraine's recent gain in Russia's war in the country as a success. President of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, said that the bank must return inflation to where it needs to be. Take a look.
I think the big difference between April and now is that Ukraine is gaining ground that it had lost in those days, and that it is showing a spirit of resilience and determination, which probably was not expected back in April. We all hoped that it would be the case, but clearly it is being demonstrated on the ground. Well, from my own perspective, as president of the European Central Bank, what we need to do is to return inflation to where it should be in the medium term, that is 2%. We are at a very high level, undesirably high at the moment, and we need to do the job that we have to do, which is to return to the 2% medium-term inflation that, for us, is price stability. Now, obviously, lots of other things have to be done by lots of other people, and I'm sure that the IMF will be the good forum to discuss what is needed for Ukraine. in terms of financial support, in terms of reconstruction when the war is over, and so on and so forth. People I know are working hard on those numbers and on the rescue packages that need to be put in place. Nobody can go alone and count on its own resources only. So we are in a situation where everybody needs to help everybody else, be mindful of everybody else, and also accept that we don't know it all. We know that this winter is going to be tough. What we know about next year, yeah, everybody likes to make prediction, to have projections for a year from now. I think we have to be a little bit humble and be prepared to constantly review the situation, revisit our projections, and take the determined action that is needed.
Global finance chiefs were expected to discuss a proposed price cap on Russian oil and support for Ukraine as the conflict takes center stage during these IMF's annual meetings. Finance ministers and central bankers from around the world are gathering in Washington this week for the first fully in-person gathering hosted by the International Monetary Fund since 2019. Back in July at the G20 summit in Indonesia, to recall, the Office of the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said she would redouble efforts to advance a price cap on Russian oil. Take a look.
Food insecurity and the design and implementation of a price cap on Russian oil. A price cap on Russian oil is one of our most powerful tools to address the pain that Americans and families across the world are feeling at the gas pump and the grocery store right now. A limit on the price of Russian oil would deny Putin revenue his war machine needs and would build on the historic sanctions we've already implemented that make it more difficult for him to wage his war or grow his economy. It will also aid in maintaining the global supply of oil, helping put downward pressure on prices for consumers in America and globally at a time when energy prices are spiking.
Finance ministers from the Group of 7 wealthy democracies were due to talk today about setting a ceiling on Russia's oil exports, a move aimed at denying Moscow of a major source of funding for its war and containing soaring energy prices. Now, hours earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin lashed out at this proposal, which the U.S. has pushed and the European Commission has proposed. Take a look.
Своими авантюрными решениями некоторые западные политики разрушают глобальную рыночную экономику. По сути, создают угрозу для благополучия миллиардов людей.
Moscow has warned that it would cut off oil supplies to countries that impose such a cap. Officials have yet to say at what level the cap would be set, but they have said that it would remain above the cost of production so that Russia would still have an incentive to supply importing countries. In tonight's other news, Ralph Lauren has launched its first Ralph's Coffee store in Malaysia as part of its new flagship retail store in Kuala Lumpur. The cafe, which has opened on level 3 of the Pavilion Kuala Lumpur Shopping Center, offers restricted seating but is primarily targeting on-the-go customers within the wider retail location. Ralph's Coffee is supplied by Philadelphia-based coffee roasters La Colombe, with the outlet also offering a selection of teas and bakery items. Customers will also be able to purchase Ralph's Coffee merchandise in store, including the branded coffee bottles, mugs, and dessert plates. U.S. luxury fashion brand Ralph Lauren launched its Ralph's Coffee concept in August in 2014. Opening on the second floor of its Palo store in New York, there are now 2 permanent Ralph's Coffee locations in the U.S., alongside stores in London and Munich. And Thailand has been given the honor of hosting the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, this November. And this role comes with major opportunities and equally significant duties for Thailand due to APEC's long-standing importance, as well as the unique context of the year. Take a look.
First of all, APEC is made up of 21 economies. They're extremely diverse in terms of size and even culture. So for example, we have Latin Americans to ASEANs, and we have big economies like the US compared to small economies like New Zealand. Traditionally, Apec's focused on a small part of trade, making trade less costly and easier for business. At its heart, it's making our people more prosperous. One way we do that is opening up our borders and having more markets that our businesses can trade with. Now, we're focusing on issues like services, which don't involve products, but the skills and the people behind them, and being able to move those people as efficiently as possible.
APEC was established in 1989 with Thailand as a co-founding member. The important forum for economic cooperation has since come to comprise 21 leading economies in the Asia-Pac or Asia-Pacific region. Hosting the meeting in the first year following alleviation of the pandemic, Thailand's theme for APEC in 2022, Open, Connect, Balance, indicates the key deliverables it envisions, namely opening to the region to opportunities, connecting across all dimensions, and helping achieve balance in all aspects. Initiatives spearheaded by Thailand in accordance with these objectives include refreshing the dialogue on the free trade area of the Asia-Pacific or FTAAP through a post-COVID lens, forming the Safe Passage Task Force to coordinate safe and seamless resumption of cross-border travel and securing endorsement for the Bangkok goals on the Biocircular Green BCG economy as a leader-level document committee, APEC to environmentally conscious economics. Now, furthermore, Thailand has also devoted attention during its year as host to supporting digital technology and innovation to develop human capacity, promoting access to funding for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, empowering women through more inclusive economic participation, and supporting sustainable tourism. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Thailand posted on Instagram its launch of Nuwan. This is the cat as the presenter on social media of APEC Thailand in 2022. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is using Nuwan as a presenter to invite Thai people to be good hosts and to support the upcoming meeting. The ministry said in its Instagram post that hosting the APEC meetings this year presents an important opportunity for Thailand to play a constructive role in formulating policies and directions for regional economic development. This year, APEC Economics Leaders Week will be held from November 14 to the 19th at the Queen Sirikit National Convention Center, Bangkok, with the National Leaders Summit on the 18th and the 19th of the same month. A resort island in the southern Philippines is bouncing back nearly a year after a super typhoon flattened the island and devastated its tourism industry. Take a look.
For coming here, I was curious, how's it gonna look like? Is everything destroyed? Or arriving here, I was surprised because they already built up most of the things. You still see like damaged houses and stuff, but you don't really feel it that much anymore.
Compared to 2019, there's more Filipino tourists for sure, but bookings are up. I think as you can see on the streets, it's getting busier too, especially now surf season, and then there are surf comps, so slowly but surely the island is coming back to life.
With regard to the increase of tourist arrivals, definitely it will also increase the tourism receipts. Meaning to say, gagastos yung mga yan eh. So yun yung sinasabi ko kanina, trickle-down economics. Kikita ang mga negosyante, kikita ang mga accommodation facilities, ang restaurants, ang mga maglalako, ang mga nagbibenta ng banana queue, etc., etc.
Tourists are returning to Siargao, a popular destination for surfers and holiday makers, as the local community rebuilds homes and resorts destroyed by Typhoon Rai in December last year. Typhoon Rai swept across southern and central regions of the country, killing more than 400 people and leaving hundreds of thousands homeless. The country's surfing capital is back to hosting surfing competitions. October is considered the surfing month, with more foreign visitors coming to the island either to surf, compete, or witness the international surfing event. Thailand's National Innovation Agency launched the Space F project. It's aimed at bringing investment opportunities to the Thai food tech sector and creating the Silicon Valley of food for Southeast Asia. Take a look. Now, according to Dr. Poon Arj Chainatana, Executive Director of NIA, most of the players in the sector are stuck at the SMEs level, where their focuses are mainly on domestic consumption. The NIA therefore stepped in to encourage the use of innovation in this particular industry. Intending to feed the world through innovation, the Space F project is initiated in 2019 to incubate and accelerate the growth of food tech startups in Thailand. He said food security has been a challenge around the world in the wake of the pandemic. Likewise, the rapidly increasing global population, climate change, and a decline in agricultural labor, along with food waste, have also made food security a serious issue that needs to be solved. The agency launched the Space F program in 2019 to help Thailand's food tech startups through mentorship, business connections, and co-working programs. And it continues its support in scaling up the sector through its 2022 edition of Space F. Meanwhile, Thailand will toughen its gun possession and drug laws, according to the Interior Ministry today, following the nursery massacre of 36 people, including 24 children, in the kingdom's worst mass killing. Take a look.
ก็จะต้องมีเรื่องของจิตใจสุขภาพจิตด้วยนะครับที่จะต้องก็อันนี้เดี๋ยวไปเขียนรายละเอียดว่าเวลาจะขอเนี่ยทางนายแพทย์จะต้องมีรับรองหรือไม่อย่างไรอะไรเดี๋ยวไปว่ารายละเอียดนั่นส่วนหนึ่ง
The country was left reeling after an ex-police officer forced his way into a small nursery in northeastern Naklang last week, murdering 24 children and their teacher before killing his wife, their child, and himself. The attack was carried out with a knife and a legally acquired gun. And while Thailand has a huge number of firearms in circulation, one estimate suggesting there are as many as 1 in 7 firearms per person, mass shootings are still rare. Gun applicants are already required to undergo a background check and must present a valid reason for ownership, such as hunting or self-defense. Currently, gun owners don't have to reapply for licenses during the lifetime of a firearm. But now, approved gun holders will have to undergo a review every 3 to 5 years. And those who still possess illegal weapons will face harsh penalties. Mr. Anupong added that his ministry would work with police and the health department to increase drug screening and awareness, as well as encouraging addicts into rehab. In tonight's other news, a French court on Monday cleared veteran Cambodian opposition figure Sam Rainsy of all charges in defamation cases brought by the Prime Minister and a top police official of his home country. Take a look. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen and his son-in-law and Deputy National Police D. Vichaya had filed complaints against France-based Rainsy, 73, over Facebook posts dating back to 2019. Mr. Hun Sen contested Rainsy's allegation that he was behind the 2008 death in a helicopter crash of National Police Chief Hok Lundy, who was D. Vichaya's father. Hun Sen killed Hok Lundy using a bomb placed inside his helicopter, according to Rainsy, claiming this on his Facebook page. Rainsy said the leader of Cambodia's government decided to murder Hok Lundy because he knew too much about Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen's misdeeds. Rainsy is the co-founder of the Cambodian National Rescue Party, the Southeast Asian nation's main opposition movement. He spent years fighting Hun Sen, who has ruled for the past 37 years, before seeking refuge in 2015 in France, where he is a dual national. Former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad said Malaysia's jailed ex-leader Najib Razak could be freed if his ruling party wins the snap elections expected next month. Najib is serving a 12-year prison term for corruption linked to the misuse of billions in public money. He was ousted from power at polls in 2018 by Mahathir's opposition alliance amid anger over the scandal. But Najib's long-ruling United Malays National Organization, or UMNO, returned to office in August last year and is now seeking a fresh mandate after dissolving Parliament Monday. If they win and form the government, their first objective is to free Najib, Mahathir told a media conference on Tuesday. He said Najib will be pardoned and released, and all other charges will be dropped. The disgraced former leader remains a member of UMNO but cannot stand for election because of his conviction on a batch of charges linked to the financial scandal at One Malaysia Development Berhad. The death 3 months ago of a local Muay Thai boxing star after a fight has reignited debates about the safety of the sport, even as it tries to modernize and has dreams of appearing on the Olympic stage. Take a look.
When I go into the fight, I know that it is possible. It's a dangerous sport, but it's what I choose to do, and I think that it's, there are other dangerous things that I could be doing with my life, and it feels the same to me.
It was the first time in my life that I was hit, and I was like in a separate world. I suddenly watched at my mom and said, how could it be? Because I was fighting, and suddenly again fighting. And it was so real for me. I don't understand my brain,
รุนแรงผมคิดว่ารุนแรงเพราะว่ากีฬามวยเนี่ยจะมีการกระทบมีการบาดเจ็บที่บริเวณศีรษะบ่อยครั้งนะครับซึ่งในบางครั้งเนี่ยเป็นการบาดเจ็บที่รุนแรงจะสามารถเกิดโรคอยู่ภายในกระโหลกศีรษะได้นะครับอย่างเช่นภาวะสมองช้ำนะครับหรือเลือดออกใต้เยื่อหุ้มสมองซึ่ง
เคยคิดว่าจะเป็นแบบนั้นหรือเปล่าก็อาทิตย์แรกก็จะเริ่มทำร่างกายครับก็อาทิตย์ที่2มันก็จะแบ่งเป็น3อาทิตย์ครับอาทิตย์ที่2ก็เริ่มอัดหนักเตะเป้าเพิ่มวิ่งเยอะๆครับเล่นเวทเยอะๆแล้วก็อาทิตย์ที่3ก็ทำน้ำหนักครับ
Difficult. We are now working very hard with the government of Thailand and with everyone involved to ensure that there's no more child fighting, because this is one of our biggest concerns. Kids 10, 11, 12 years old fighting professional Muay Thai. This is something Thailand must change.
Muay Thai has been granted full approval to be recognized as an Olympic sport last year. Sometimes referred to as Thai boxing, it's a combat sport that uses stand-up striking along with various clinching techniques. Muay Thai became widespread internationally in the late 20th to 21st century when westernized practitioners from Thailand began competing in kickboxing and mixed rules matches, as well as matches under Muay Thai rules around the world. The professional league is governed by the Professional Boxing Association of Thailand, sanctioned by the Sports Authority of Thailand. And Papua New Guinea's second contemporary art exhibition opens to the public. Echo Ortelesa reports.
The well-attended contemporary arts exhibition at the Apec House is now open to the public. National Cultural Commission Director Stephen Kilanda spearheads the occasion. The 4-day exhibit captures the attention of the diplomatic corps. Over 200 pieces of artworks created by 85 artists, painters, and sculptors have their creations on display.
It has a couple of objectives. One, to give prominence to the work that they do, to provide the second thing is to provide a marketing outlet for some of the work, to be able to bring them together and learn of each other. That's important in terms of what they do, what opportunities are there for them. So this is an opportunity for us to showcase the fine art talents. It has a story behind every painting, and it is our hope that this will tell the Papua New Guinea story a little bit more. Tell of our unique situation, what we are like. It tells us of what we think, what is important to us.
Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture E.C. Henry Leonard encourages local artists to excel in this creative industry. He appeals to the development partners to promote and market the skills and talents of their country's artists.
Papua New Guinea is full of so many different types of art, and you can see that displayed here in the different styles that the artists have. Very traditional, very modern. It's also full of young artists and old artists. So it's an honor to be here and to be able to support as part of the embassy, but also as an individual and an art lover. I definitely highly recommend coming and exploring Papua New Guinea, its culture, its art. It has so much to offer.
We don't have many local buyers. It's hard to sell paintings to our local market. But we appreciate like it's only the expats that comes inside and mostly tourists. They're very helpful. They're supportive by purchasing artworks. Please come to Papua New Guinea. There's lots of beautiful artworks here.
The Contemporary Arts exhibition also provides employment to artists who are not formally employed. Eko Hortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.